everyone, welcome back to my channel. This will be my second attempt at the Slapchop technique. I've got an Ogre mini that's already primed black. First we'll need some dry brushes or something to dry brush with. I've just got some cheap gray paint here that I'm going to be using, and I'm just using a cheap paint because it doesn't affect the outcome of the model. And we're going to be doing our gray dry brush. So I'm going to work some of that into my dry brush now. And then we're going to work most of it off on the paper towel here. Once we've worked off most of our paint, we're going to grab our mini and we're going to start dry brushing all over. Really trying to get all the raised edges while leaving the recesses. We're not going to focus so much on the areas where the light naturally wouldn't hit, because those areas are going to be darker anyway. So we're going to focus more so on the areas that the light would naturally hit. So we're not going to focus too heavily on areas that would be darker, like under his arms. And for the sake of time, we're going to fast forward so we can get on to the next step. Okay, here we've got our Ogre with his completed gray dry brush. So now we're ready to move on to our next step. Here I've got my white paint that I'm going to be using for my next step, which is my white dry brush. So I'm going to take some of that white paint and put it onto my palette. And then I'm going to use my dry brush and take some of my paint and work it into the bristles. And then I'm going to work most of it off onto my paper towel before grabbing my model and starting to dry brush. For our white dry brush, we are going to be going all over our model, but we are going to be focusing on any points of our model that we want to be brightest, like the shoulders, the face, and any raised edges. And we're going to make sure that we can still see some of the gray and black coming through when we're doing our white dry brush. And once again, we're going to fast forward for the sake of time, so we'll see you when we're finished this step. Here we've got our mini that's had its white dry brush completed, ready for its next step. As you can see, the raised edges are a lot lighter than the other areas, and shoulders and face are also lighter. Next, we're going to use Crusader Skin, which is a speed paint from Army Painter, which we're going to use to paint his skin. So I'm going to put some of that on my palette. And for this, we're going to use a regular brush. So I'm going to grab my regular brush here, and we're going to paint all of his skin this color. We're going to try and get an even layer all over, and the white and gray dry brush over top of the black primer will give some natural contrast and highlights. And once again, we're going to fast forward and do some painting off screen for the sake of time. So we'll see you when his skin is all painted. Okay, here's our Ogre with his skin all done, and he's ready to move on. Next, we're going to take our High Lord Blue speed paint, and we're going to use that for his clothes and his wrist cloth. So we're going to put some of that on our palette and then grab some of that with our regular paint brush. And once again, we're just going to try and get an even coat on our areas we want painted with that. So we just have a couple small areas we want to use this color on, so we'll do that. And we'll fast forward and finish this off screen, so we'll see you after we've completed this part. Here's our Ogre with his High Lord Blue done, and he's ready to move on to his next color. Our next color is going to be Hardened Leather, and we're going to use that for his wrist wraps. Once again, we're going to put a little bit on our palette, grab some with our regular paintbrush, and we're just going to start putting some of that on where we're going to paint. And we're once again going to fast forward and do some of it off screen, and we'll see you once we're done this step. Okay, we're done with our hardened leather. I think it looks pretty good, so we're ready to move on. We're going to use our Gravelord Gray speed paint to paint his boots, and we're going to try and get nice even coverage to paint them all over. And we're going to fast forward and finish painting them off screen, and we'll be back once his boots are completed. Next, we're going to be using our dark wood speed paint for the wooden handle of his weapon. And we're going to fast forward and paint a little bit off screen, and we'll see you when we're ready to paint the next part of our weapon. Next, we're going to take Pallid Bone to paint the bone spikes of his weapon. We are going to use this color again later, but for now we're just going to finish up his weapon. Next, we're going to take the plate mail metal from the Air Metallic line. We're going to use that to paint the metal spiky part of his weapon, and that'll finish up his weapon. Then we can move on to finishing up the rest of our ogre. So this is where we're going to be using our pallid bone again. We're going to be using it for a skull necklace. We're going to be using the pallid bone on the actual skull part. We're going to use a different color for the actual necklace part that goes around his neck. Next, we're going to be using our grim black, and we're going to use that for his entire beard. We're also going to later use that for his eyebrows, but I want to finish the rest of his face first. We're going to be using skeleton bone from the Army Painter Air Color Triad line to paint in his teeth and fangs. Now, I'm not very good at this, but I'm going to give it my best try. I've gone in and done the final details on our ogre's face as well as his necklace. I've also evened out his skin as it was looking a little uneven and done any touch-ups needed elsewhere. So this is my second slap chop attempt, and if you guys watched the first video, let me know how you guys thought I did on my second one compared to my first. I'll put a quick link to that first video up here. If there's anything you guys would like to see me paint or try next, leave that down in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos.